Hello and welcome to today's video. This is the first video in the alphabet book recommendation series that I'm going to be doing. So in this video, as it is the first video, we'll be concentrating on the letter A, and that's the basics of it. So what is this and what is the alphabet challenge? The alphabet challenge is a reading challenge that you can start any time at all and have last for as long as you want. And it is essentially, you try and read a book that starts with every letter of the alphabet. That's as simple as it is, really. Most people I'm aware of, myself included, start it at the start of the year, and the time frame is 1 year, so you try and complete it within the year. And a rule that most people stick to is that the and a beginning titles are excluded. So for instance, The Maze Runner wouldn't count for T because it's a the, so it doesn't count, and wouldn't count for M because it doesn't begin with M, it begins with the. That's kind of like the basic premise. Everything else counts, everything else is in. And if you've never heard of this before, hopefully that is enough information for you to like understand. Now, personally, I've taken part in this challenge for 3 years now. This is my 3rd year currently. The first year, I think I was about 3 letters away from completing it. And last year, I was 1 letter away from completing it. So annoying. But this year, I'm doing it again. I started at the start of the year and I'm pretty confident I can complete it. I mean, you know, if there wasn't the year parameter that I put on it, I could have completed them, right? So I'm confident I can do it in a year, and percentage wise it looks like I'm on the right track. I'm above what I need to be on by now to complete it. And this video series is just going to be book recommendations based on every letter. So for instance, this video for the letter A, and we'll do one for every letter of the alphabet over the next however long it takes to make these. In the video, I will be talking about a variety of genres and age ratings, and I'll kind of just tell you why you might like the book and why the book would be a good fit. There will be some super short books, some bigger books, lots of things to talk about, and in each video I'm aiming to do around 5 recommendations. In this video, there's 6, so that's kind of where we're at. And if there's any books that I don't recommend in this video that you think are amazing and like do you think could work really well to fulfill this prompt of just beginning with the letter A, do leave them down in the comments down below, and we can have this video be like a massive resource for books beginning with the letter A. So let's talk about book recommendations for the letter A. And what I first of all want to do is show you these 5 books here. These are 5 books that are on my TBR that I haven't got to yet, but if I had got to, I feel like they could have made it onto the recommendations. So I just want to quickly show them. We've got Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I feel like this is one that a lot of people use. We've got Around the World in 80 Days. This is, again, a book that I think I'm going to enjoy. We've got Angel Fall, like a classic YA fantasy romance, paranormal romance, something like that. Algorithms to Live By. This isn't my book, this is Jay's book, but when I told him I was making this video, he's like, oh, you should put this book on it, so here's that book. And last but not least, Annihilation, which again, I think once I've read, could be a massive recommendation from me. I have had very high hopes for this book. But yeah, they're the ones that I haven't read, so they're not real recommendations, right? They're just ones that could be in the future. But here I have a pile of 6 books that I'm ready to recommend. How am I going to split these up? So we've got a classic, 2 for younger readers, 2 for adults, and 1 poetry. So let's start with the poetry. This is currently the best poetry collection I've read so far this year, and I've really enjoyed it. It's definitely in kind of like my top 5 poetry collections that I've read of all time. And this is All the Flowers Kneeling by Paul Tran. This is about desire and freedom and control, and you know, these are very much written from the author's experience. And just like a small part of what it says here is a shattering history of personal abuse to show how it both scars and transforms. Innovative poetic forms mirror the non-linear experiences of trauma survivors, while ambitious sequences probe our systems of knowledge making and the power of storytelling as survival. And like, when I say this is so good, it was so good. There's actually a interview with Paul Tran on YouTube, and if I can find it I will link it in the description down below, because they actually read out I think 2 or maybe 3 of the poems from this book. So when I was reading along I had that interview on, and some of them like I got to hear from like the author themselves, and it was so good. Really enjoyed and really had that added. But if you are considering this one, I feel like that interview could be a good place to start to figure out if you like the style of the poetry. So yeah, that is my first recommendation. A lovely, well, hard hitting, but it was still lovely, it was still amazing to read poetry collection. Then we'll do the middle grade first, I think. So although these are both middle grade, they are for slightly different ages, I'd say. So this first one I'm going to recommend is Amelia Fang and the Barbaric Bull. This is just a really fun one. Honestly, I think it's meant for quite young readers. I know nothing at all about children, so I can't tell you exactly the age rating, but I would think like young primary school, you'd enjoy this. But I enjoyed it as an adult. I read this 2 years ago now. I do definitely want to continue on with the series, but for me this was just amazing. It was fun and silly, and there's like a little pumpkin. There's a little pumpkin called Squashy, which obviously for children they're just like, okay, squashy, but like for adults, like squashy, like squash, like pumpkin, like yeah, it was very fun. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. I read this on the run up to Halloween when I was wanting to read a lot of different books, but that were still Halloween themed, but weren't necessarily going to be like these big thriller horrors that I was really going to have to wrap my head around. And this did it for me. Like this just hit the mark that I wanted it to do. Yeah, I think it's a really fun one. So on the back we've just got Meet Amelia Fang. She loves playing goblin tag and cuddling her pet pumpkin Squashy. She hates going to her mum and dad's boring barbaric ball. Oh, and one more thing. Amelia is a vampire. Yeah, it's very fun. It's very silly, but it's just a really good quick time, and I had a great time reading it. And then the other book that is on this is the best middle grade I've ever read, but it's also one of the better books that I've ever read. The year I read it, which I don't think was last year, I think it was the year before, it made it into my top books of the year on its own merit. Like it wasn't in the top books as a middle grade, it was just in the top books, and that is Amari and the Night Brothers. I would say this is older. Like here's the problem, we don't have middle grade in the UK. Like we don't have that as a schooling system, but online all of these books are still classed as middle grade. So I don't know, I would say like older primary school, younger high school for this one would work, but honestly I can't wait to get the sequel. The sequel's coming out in paperback very soon and I can't wait for it. And like, you know, I think there might be parts of it where you're like, oh okay, that's a bit silly to presume that or do that, but it's a child making those decisions, so you can really understand it. But there's twists in this that I did not see coming. The world building in this is amazing, and although it is a younger protagonist and we have younger people around, I don't think it's written dumbed down in any way, which is, you know, I think a problem that can happen. But no, this is just amazing. We have Amari who is going to a summer camp that her brother went to because her brother's missing, but she doesn't believe he'd run away. She thinks something big is happening, and then she gets an invitation to go to this summer camp that he used to go to, and she gets to explore a little bit more. Okay, so on the back you do know the summer camp is actually part of the Magical Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, and it very much has magic in, and mermaids and aliens and magicians, and her roommate is a were-dragon. And I thought that was great too. It was a really fun time. Like, I'm probably not doing the best job of recommending this. I feel like I've spoken about it so much, but honestly, if you just enjoy fun fantasy, give it a go. Like, forget about the age rating, forget that it's meant for like younger readers. It's great on its own and with its own merit. Okay, and then we'll do the classic, because I did just kind of feel like I needed to include a shorter classic on this list. And like, this is one that I would recommend. It's probably one of the better classics I've read, and that's Animal Farm. What I will say is, although it's short, it isn't quick. You do need to understand what's going on. It's not super quick, but I had fun with this. I don't know if fun's the right word. This was a classic that made me think a lot. It's a classic that I didn't really have problems with the aging of it. It was already critiquing what was going on, so even if things weren't done purposefully, you could really tell there was no negative intent with them. And yeah, it made you think a lot. It really, you know, it said a lot. And there were also parts that I had to reread. There were parts that I couldn't understand, but these are, if you read into what this book is about, these are based on like real people and real things that were going on. Obviously talking animals is cute, like no matter how nice or nasty they are, like I love animals, so that was kind of like what drew me in. But then there's so much that I just couldn't wrap my head around. But like this is realistic. Like some people really think like this, some people really are as entitled as this, some people really think so low of other people as this. Yeah, it was very thought heavy. It really did make me think a lot, and it's definitely a book I would recommend at some point in your life. Give it a go. Do you know what, if you don't vibe with it, don't worry. Like I don't think you're missing out on anything massive, but I think if you can read the story, if you do like the writing style, if you do like where it's going, I do think it's a really good classic to read. So let's do the next one. This is an adult paranormal romance, but what is really cool about this series is, although it is a romance, the romance is like 40–50%, and the like, not necessarily political, but the movings of the world and what kind of is going on with people, what is, you know, there's a larger plot is what I'm trying to say. It's really good. So this is book 1, Angel's Blood. It's a very long series. I'm about halfway through it currently, and do you know what, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It is interesting, a little dated, but in like a very endearing way. Like I'm not reading anything that's outdated and being like, oh, like, yeah, I don't know how to recommend this. I would just say, if you enjoy paranormal romance, if you enjoy fantasy romance, if you enjoy romance and kind of want to dabble into fantasy, if you enjoy fantasy and kind of want to dabble into romance, I would say give this one a go, honestly. It is adult, like, you know, it's not young adult like some of the other books that I often read, but it's a really fun time. It's fun. I can't believe how sucked into this world I've got. I can't believe how much I feel like I know and understand the political aspects and the supernatural aspects and the interactions between people and who they are. But yeah, it really sucked me in. It's really good. Oh, and also if you've read h.eather.e.lizabeth Blood, there was a lot of inspiration drawn for that book from this series, and I feel like I can definitely see that, especially within some of the main characters, and they're like very much like characteristics and personalities. So yeah, that's that one. And then last but not least, we have All Systems Red. This is the first book in the Murderbot Diaries. This is amazing. It's adult. It's about Murderbot, who has hacked into its governor module so it can think for itself, basically. It is, I don't think it's called AI robot, it's just called robot on the back. Yeah, so it's a robot, and normally those robots are controlled by the government or the corporation. And yeah, this one's hacked its module, and it, you know, it's still doing these things, it's still protecting the people it's meant to protect, but all it actually wants to do is go to sleep and put TV shows on in its head. So good. It's so good. Like, there's so many books in this series. They are all short novellas, they're super fast. The audiobooks for them are also really good. Yeah, honestly, I would just say give it a go. If you haven't given it a go, give it a go. It is so far, I'd say the first one we are very much just introduced to Murderbot itself and introduced to some other characters that, you know, I feel like it's important to learn these characters in the first one to understand how the world works and understand the differences in different places, and each one just expands and expands and expands. It's an amazing series overall, but the first book especially, it sucked me in. It really did. It was so good. The world, Murderbot itself, and also a lot of the side characters that I was like, I hope we get to see these again at some point. Like, I hope we get to learn more, and the mystery of it, like, it's not a mystery as in like who done it, or like maybe you could class it as that, but I more mean like the mystery of like things are discovered and it's not really known why or how or who. And yes, really loved, really enjoyed. So these are my 6 recommendations, and I guess I quickly just want to say who should read them. The poetry collection, if you like poetry, give it a go. Also, if you don't like poetry and you want to delve into it, I think this could be a good one to start with. However, I would say just, you know, properly read the synopsis beforehand. Take care of yourself, take care of your mental health. There are some quite heavy subjects within this one, so do be careful, but honestly it's amazing. Like, I really would recommend Amelia Fang if you just want a silly little fun time, maybe on the run up to Halloween, maybe you're just missing Halloween and want it at a different time of year. It was just fun. If you don't enjoy just fun silliness in your books, then it's probably not for you, but if you do, I do think it's really nice, and obviously you can pick to read it, you know you're going in for that sort of fun time. But these characters do have personalities, they are real, like, yeah. And obviously also if you are happy to read for a younger audience. And Maury and the Night Brothers, I would honestly say anyone should give this a go. Obviously if you enjoy fantasy, it'd be great for you. But also if you don't enjoy fantasy, I think it could be a great one to get you going, especially because although it isn't dumbed down in any way because it is for younger readers, I do feel like a common complaint to people who are trying to read fantasy is it's too complicated or they can't understand it. I don't see anyone having that complaint with this one, so it could be a really decent one to start with. Animal Farm, I would honestly say for everyone to give it a go. Like, you know, this is a very old book. You can get it in most charity shops. You can get it at the library. I'm pretty sure it's on like the library ebook app. Just give the writing a go, and if you can read the writing, I would say give it a go when you're in the mood for like a thought-provoking time. Angel Blood, like I said, if you like fantasy, if you like romance, if you like fantasy romance, if you like paranormal romance, or if you like some or most of these and want to give others a go, I would say give it a go. And I think for me it really balances out both the romance side and the rest of the element side in a way that like I'm happy with, coming from someone who doesn't read a lot of romance. So I guess that, yeah, if you are wanting more romance, maybe it won't be for you, but I had a fun time. And then Murderbot, I think everyone should give Murderbot a go. Like, it's sci-fi. I don't know if I said it was sci-fi, but it is sci-fi. I think even if you don't read a lot of sci-fi, like honestly before this I'd probably read less than 10 sci-fis in my life, less than 3 in the last few years, and I love this, so I would definitely say give it a go. It's a really fun time. The audiobooks are on Scribd, a link below. And yeah, I am thinking of everyone in my life, and I don't think there's anyone that I wouldn't recommend Murderbot to. So honestly, I would say anyone can give it a go. So yeah, those are the books. So that was today's video. Those were the A book recommendations. Again, if you have any more, please do leave them below. I'm gonna probably do this challenge every single year whilst I'm like reading enough books to be able to try and complete it successfully. And I think it's a really, really great time. Do give the video a like if you liked it. Subscribe down below if you'd like to see more content like this. I will be doing every single letter of the alphabet. I expect I'll upload one of these every 2 to 3 weeks, but honestly it just depends how easily I can get those recommendations together. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, hope to see you next time. Bye.